Hi, this is Warren Barhorst, CEO of Iscential, Risk Management, Insurance, and Financial Services out of Houston, Texas. I often get questioned from my clients about what's the risk to my business from a cyber attack. And the question I usually ask them back is, are you prepared for a cyber attack? Because we're all going to get attacked. It's inevitable. Every day, if you looked at your servers, whatever your business is, your computer at home, someone's trying to ping it to figure out how they can get into your system. So when I ask a client, are they prepared? What I'm asking them is, are they prepared for the physical threat? Are they prepared for the virtual threat? And are they prepared for the social threats coming from the system? The next thing you have to think about is, what do you do with the risk, or what do you do with the exposure of cyber, right? You can reduce the risk, you can transfer the risk, you can accept the risk, or you can shut down your business and completely avoid the risk. So the next thing you should think about is, why should you care, right? That's the next thing that people always are thinking is, why should I care about this? And the reality is, there's an 80% chance that your business is going to experience a cyber attack. So the two things you have to think about goes back to the initial question is, are you prepared for the attack, and what can you do to minimize the risk of that attack? So as I said, there's an 80% chance of your business being subject to a cyber attack. And so let's look at today's cyber exposures. The reality is, we're actually in a cyber apocalypse. And it starts with what happened during COVID. There's an increased number of layoffs of programmers and freelance computer people. A lot of them in third world countries and other places have had to do whatever it takes to feed their family, which meant they turned to the dark side and went to work for the criminals that are actually attacking our computers. The FBI cyber complaints are up 400% to 4,000 a day right now. And these aren't people that lost their ID. These are true cyber attacks, true penetrations into banks and insurance companies and Target and Home Depot and large companies like that. 58% of the attacks target small businesses. They've figured out that small businesses are much easier to attack because they don't have the things in place to protect themselves. So lots of small business customers are getting attacked on a daily basis. 4 out of 5 small businesses reported attacks that evaded their antivirus software. Ransom demands increased 47% in the first half of 2020. We don't have any stats for 2021 yet. I know we're already in 2022, but it takes a long time for this material to get there. My hunch is that the ransom demands are higher and higher. Just like inflation, criminals ask for more money. And then 60% of ransom situations are caused by human error. What that means is that someone in your operation gave up their credentials, they logged into a fake website, or they answered a fake email, and pass their credentials to somebody, which allowed them to get into your system. And the last point here is that the average loss for a small business customer is about $160,000. And people look at me and go, $160,000, what is that? Well, that's the ransom that they charged you, that's the cost you paid to get your system back, and then any administrative things you had to pay to regulators to protect your name, or maybe your consumers' data that you lost. You had to notify them and then buy LifeLock or some kind of credit monitoring software to make sure they're not hacked as well. Let's take a look at the cyber impact on business. I call this the proverbial tip of the iceberg. If you look at the direct cost, that's the stuff at the top, or the tip of the iceberg. It's the customer breach notifications, it's the post-breach customer protection, it's the regulatory compliance and fines, it's the public relations and crisis communications to make sure your customers still trust you as a business, it's the attorney fees and the litigation you get from customers that are upset with you, it's the cybersecurity improvements, usually because you find you have a weakness and you got to spend money fixing the hardware and software in your system. And then there's basically technical or forensic investigations where they have to come in and figure out what happened. That's the tip of the iceberg, right? That's the stuff that you pay for out of pocket. The indirect cost, or the stuff below, it's the mass of the iceberg below the water. It's your management focus, right? Everybody in your business is going to be focused on trying to solve this cyber problem and not focused on running the business or growing the business. It's the disruption to your existing customers and everyone else, the service disruption to everything going on. Your cyber insurance premium is going to go up because you've had an attack, right? It's the cost to raise debt or equity, which, I mean, if you're borrowing money from private equity or from a bank or whatever, and they look at your cyber expense or your cyber thing, they might be afraid to do it. So for a lot of people, that cost rises. Big time operational disruption and or destruction, right? Physically, they can do things to your system that may cause destruction to your business. Lost value of customer relationships, value of lost contract revenue for deals you didn't sign, devaluation of your brand. Maybe they stole your intellectual property, so now your intellectual property is out in the marketplace. And I can tell you from experience that a lot of the employee morale drops dramatically when people have a cyber attack. So let's take a look at the 3 cyber attack surface vectors. So I talked earlier about physical threats, virtual threats, and social threats. Let's dive into those and see what those really mean. So under the physical threats buckets, you have false entry, people faking like they're somebody else. They'll walk in the front door carrying a ladder, they'll pretend to be something, they'll go back into your server closet or your technology closet, they'll put a device on the system that then talks to the bad guys out in the world. A lot of people take their computers to repair shops, they lose their thumb drives or a CD, phones get stolen, and decommissioned equipment goes out in the marketplace without being scrubbed. There's all kinds of ways that people get into it through physical means. Failure to shred documents. We throw a lot of documents in trash dumpsters and people go in there and they dumpster dive. Cleaning crews steal this material. Theft of laptops, backpass, purse, things of that nature. That's how that stuff gets out in the open marketplace, and then those bad guys use it against you. And then the last one here is the sticky note password. I've been in so many offices as a risk manager where I flip over the keyboard in the server room and the password's on the bottom side of the keyboard, or it's sticking up on the corner of the monitor. So moving on to virtual threats. These are threats that are originating from the network or the internet or your intranet internally, right? Joining public or free Wi-Fi, using free PDF editors or free software where it downloads some kind of monitoring device inside your system, malicious file downloads, all these phishing emails that we all get and you download the wrong one. There's a lot of bad actor websites where they're mimicking to be somebody else. There's just ransomware and what they call Trojans, which are devices or programs that are designed to get inside your system and wait until they see a vulnerability similar to the Trojans back with the Trojan horse a long time ago. Employees with good intentions to complete work or save money download free software is a reality. They're trying to get something done for the business. They want to do the right thing, and they download some free software and bring a virus in through that free software. And then the last point here on virtual threats is many small businesses use administrative rights for everyone. They don't lock down the rights of the users, and so when a user's password is hacked, they actually have been assigned admin rights to the system, and now the bad guy, by hacking just a work rank and file employee, has administrative rights to the system, and they do all kinds of damage inside there. Then the last one is social threats, right? This is attacks that use physiological or other human factor techniques to gain access to things. This is one we talk about is called the Good Samaritan. It's like allowing someone to borrow your phone, right? So you're talking to somebody and they say, "Can I just borrow your phone for a second?" That person can plug something into the bottom of your phone, download some software to it while they're talking on your phone, and you do it. A lot of times people play on your good nature, and they're actually a bad guy doing things they don't want to do. So a lot of stuff falls under that category of threat for social threats, and it's usually a way that they're playing on your emotions to take advantage of you. And the reality with these service vectors is that the attacks are getting more and more sophisticated. Many times they'll use all three of these approaches to get at your system. So many people ask me, "So Warren, what do I do?" And I always say, well, it's simple but complicated, because you should implement what I call cybersecurity best practices. It starts with investing in professional advice that owns or has professional liability insurance. If you're still doing your IT administration individually, you're probably making a mistake. It's time that you invest in a professional to manage your system and make sure that the professional has liability insurance. Number 2, implement multi-factor authentication. It's called MFA in the industry. This is where you get a text or a phone call to verify that it's you that's trying to log into the system. Disable password expiration, implement complex password requirements, and deploy a password manager. These are simple things to do. Nobody likes to do them because they don't want to jack with the password manager or things of that nature. But just putting that in there creates a huge wall, because it's no longer your birthday or something simple that a hacker can figure out. Create a separate admin account that only uses to do admin tasks, right? Back to my point earlier that people have admin rights to everyone. Just have one person. Don't use the admin account for anything except for administrative work. Log in, log out. Utilize managed IT service providers when available, moving the software to the cloud. If you think about it, a cloud server that Microsoft runs is going to be much more protected than a server that you have in a closet at your office. They just have a lot more money to do the cybersecurity. Migrate or isolate outdated endpoints. These are things that you have, legacy business systems. You might have an old program on an old server in a closet that's connected to the internet for no reason, because you only get into it once a month to do a month-end reporting or something of that nature. You'd want to block that off and only turn it on when you need to go into it to use it, so that outdated equipment's only on the system for the time that you need it. Update your software and operating system as soon as feasible. Sometimes you can't do the update because it'll break other programs in your system. We do understand that, but many people, if you look at their phone or their laptop, the version of the software they're running is way outdated, and all those patches that the software manufacturer puts in, many of them are there to prevent hacks that the bad guys know about. Have a data loss prevention policy that includes shredding, encryption, destroying drives, forwarding emails, and etc. You need to put one of those in place. If you need help with that, contact us and we'll help you develop a data loss prevention policy. Maintain good data backups, right? Many people tell me they have data backups, and then when they're hacked, they find out that their data backup's 30 days old or 60 days old or a year old. Look at your business and determine how fast or how soon or we need the data, right? Do I need a day-old data? Can I live with 10-day-old data? Can I live with 30-day-old data to rebuild my systems? Implement attack surface reduction policies. These are ways to stop those three threats, right? So if you look at those three attack surfaces, what systems could you put in place? What procedures could you put in place to keep it from doing that? Simple one would be, no one walks in the front door of this business and says they're here to see so-and-so unless you validate that person who is they say they are, and that they can go in the closet then, and somebody might even go in the closet and watch them. Simple example of a way to reduce that. Implement cyber awareness training. This is a great process of sending fake phishing emails and things to your employees. It's also teaching them what to look for in a fake phishing attack and things of that nature. Implement a break glass account. This is basically, most of us are dependent on an IT person to do our work inside of our situation. If that IT person passed away or quit or whatever, you need a password in what we call a break glass account, somewhere hidden that gives you the rights back to the system so that you could take it over if that person leaves you. Meet with a trusted advisor to review and purchase cyber insurance. So that's where we would come in, is to give you some advice about what that looks like and how do you transfer that risk to the insurance company in case you do get attacked. So how Iscential can help you with your cyber exposure. You can engage us as risk managers. We can help you. If I've read that checklist to you and some of those things seem strange or foreign, we'd be happy to sit down with you and explain what those items mean. We can actually run a scan of your system. We've licensed some software through one of our partners, Coalition, and we run analysis. It's not intrusive, it's not a penetration test or anything of that nature, but it just looks at what your system looks like from the internet and what the hackers would see if they were scanning your system. And then we can give you that result, and then you can engage us to help you implement a strategy to protect yourself from the cyber criminals. If you're interested in working with one of our teammates or one of our licensed risk managers, click the link below to get a quote form on our website at www.iscential.com, and we'll take care of your needs right away.